Today, we're going to talk about generative AI in software development. We all know it's a huge deal that it can write code. But the real story, the one that's kind of flying under the radar, is how it's completely reshaping what it actually means to be a developer. So yeah, we hear all the time about AI helping us write code faster, squash bugs, and just generally speed everything up. But that's just scratching the surface. The real shift here is much, much deeper than just getting a new set of fancy tools.
That's right. This isn't just about being more efficient. It's about identity. The skills you need, the way you think, your whole creative role, it's all in the middle of a massive change. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's start at the very top of the food chain, software architecture. This is where the big picture, the blueprint for a whole system, gets drawn up. And it's one of the first places we're seeing Gen AI step in, not as a tool, but as a true collaborator. Now, what's really fascinating here is how architects are using AI right now. Looking at all the research out there, the biggest use cases are for decision support, helping an architect weigh the pros and cons of different approaches. The other big one is reconstruction, which is kind of like digital archaeology. You point the AI at some old code, and it helps you figure out the original blueprint. So it's less about the AI taking charge and a lot more about it being this super knowledgeable sidekick. And who is this go-to sidekick? Well, the numbers don't lie. A whopping 62% of the research in this area is using OpenAI's GPT models. I mean, that's a pretty staggering level of dominance. It shows you how one company's tech is basically setting the standard for this entire field, at least for now.
This is where it gets really telling. You can see exactly where AI provides the most bang for your buck. 40% of the time, it's being used right at the very beginning, taking those vague ideas from a client and turning them into a solid architectural plan. And the next biggest slice of the pie? Turning that plan into the first chunks of actual code. So AI's biggest strength seems to be in those really critical early-stage translation moments. Of course, none of this incredible collaboration happens if you don't know how to talk to the AI. And that brings us to a brand new, absolutely essential skill: prompt engineering. It's really the art of asking the right questions to get the right answers.
The best way I've heard this described is Google Fu. Remember back in the day when you had to know the perfect combination of keywords and symbols to find anything on the internet? Well, prompt engineering is the modern-day version of that. It's all about crafting the perfect set of instructions to guide the AI toward the result you actually need. It's a real skill. So what's the secret sauce for a great prompt? It's really all about being structured. Think of it like this. First, you give the AI a job. You say, hey, you're a senior software architect. Then you give it a clear task. You provide all the important context it needs to know. You tell it exactly how you want the output formatted. And finally, you lay down any rules or constraints. Following these steps turns a fuzzy wish into a crystal clear brief that the AI can actually work with.
And really, it all just boils down to this. The quality of what you get out of an AI is a direct mirror of the quality of what you put in. If you want better results, you absolutely have to ask better questions. It's as simple as that. Okay, so architects are getting AI collaborators, and prompting is the new must-have skill. What does all of this mean for the day-to-day life of a developer? Well, it means the focus is shifting in a big way, away from just cranking out lines of code and towards something much more strategic.
GitHub actually mapped out this journey, and it's fascinating. It starts with the skeptic, someone who might only use basic autocomplete. Then you become an explorer, maybe asking a chatbot for a quick code snippet. But as you build trust, you become a collaborator, working back and forth with the AI right inside your code editor. And the final form, the strategist. This is someone who's not just using one tool, but orchestrating multiple AI agents to tackle really complex problems.
And this quote just nails it. The role is literally shifting from being a code producer to being a creative director of code. Your core skill isn't just about implementation anymore. It's about orchestration, directing all these AI tools, and verification, making sure the final product is actually correct and high quality. It's a huge mindset shift, from being the builder to being the one in charge of the whole project.
And if you think this is some far-off future, check this out. An incredible 80% of new developers on GitHub are already using an AI tool like Copilot within their very first week. Think about that. The next generation of software engineers is learning their craft with an AI partner from day one. That is going to accelerate this whole identity shift like crazy.
But let's be real.
The road ahead isn't perfectly paved. For this new partnership between humans and AI to really work, there are some pretty big hurdles we still need to clear and, of course, some new skills we all need to learn. Researchers are pointing to some major challenges. Accuracy and reliability are still a big deal. These tools can and do get things wrong. Then there are hallucinations. That's when the AI just confidently makes things up that sound plausible but are totally false. On top of that, you've got huge ethical and privacy questions, and we don't even have a standard way to measure how good these models are at these complex software tasks yet.
So, what does it take to thrive in this new world? It really comes down to three things. First, you have to truly understand the work. That means having a clear product vision and being fluent in how AI works. Second, you need to be an expert at directing the work, delegating tasks to the AI and setting up a solid architecture. And third, and this might be the most important one, you have to be relentless about verifying the work. The buck still stops with you, the human.
Which leaves us with this one big final question to think about. As AI gets better and better at handling the how, the nitty-gritty of implementation, our value as humans has to shift. It moves up to the what and the why. Maybe the true measure of creativity isn't about writing the most elegant line of code anymore. Maybe. It's about the quality of the problems you decide to solve, the elegance of the systems you design, and the power of the vision you ultimately bring to life.